Hey, I came across this problem today and really liked it, so I thought I'd share it with the world. If you're able to solve it, please leave a comment. Also, subscribe to the channel because I got a lot of content coming out regularly for you guys to help you through your math, algebra, geometry, calculus, pre-algebra. I don't care what kind of math you're doing. You just let me know what you need help with. I'll take care of you. Okay, look at this problem. I saw this today. Loved this problem. Okay, we need to find the side length of this rectangle. Gave it to my students for an entry test. This is what I would do. I would split that image into two different shapes so that we're working with a lot easier pictures. So I'm going to draw a right triangle because I see a right triangle down here. I'm going to label it 5 and 6. And then I'm going to draw the rectangle that I see up on top and label what they provided me with there. The only information they gave me there is the length of the diagonal, which is 8 units. All right, so now I've got this information and I'm being asked to figure out this side length of the rectangle. Nothing here is going to help me out yet, but I bet I can find the distance from here to there by using the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You guessed it. The Pythagorean theorem will give us our missing side length to a right triangle. You know that from your pre-algebra course. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a 5 here, a 6 there, and we're going to work this down. So I'm going to say 5 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. We don't know this being the c. Remember, the hypotenuse is opposite of the right angle, and it is also the longest side of a right triangle every single time. 5 squared makes 25, 6 squared makes 36, and we still don't know what c is. I need to combine 25 and 36. Together, that's going to give me 61 equals c squared. And my last and final step to figure out what c would have to be is to get rid of the exponent of 2. Opposite of squaring something is to square root it, inverse operate, square root 61. So now we know c is equal to the square root of 61. This is great, except for the fact that 61 is not what we call a perfect square, meaning it's not going to come out to a nice, neat number. So I could type in the square root of 61 into a calculator. This is going to give me an irrational decimal that's going to go forever and ever and ever. Let's keep it as we see it. So right now I know that this length, ooh, I love that sound, is the square root of 61. Okay? If you want to know about what that value is, okay, I'm not really planning on talking about this, but square root of 61 is really close to the square root of 64. Square root of 64 is 8. So that value is a little bit less than 64. The number would come out a little bit less than 8. So it's probably like 7.8 something. Okay? But again, I don't care what the value is of square root of 64. I just know that that's what it is. Now, I also know that in a rectangle, if this length is the square root of 64, this length is also the square root of 60. I lied, not 64, 61. If it was 64, we would just change it to an 8. That's not a 64, that's a 61. Okay, now how does that help me? I can take the square root of 61 and put it right here in this diagram. Now watch. Watch as it all gets brought to light. You ready? You ready? You ready? Oh my goodness, we're really just dealing with a right triangle that has a leg that is the square root of 61 and a hypotenuse that is 8. I'm missing one of my legs. All I need to do in order to find what that leg's value is, notice that this leg, remember this, I'm just showing you one of the triangles. We can find this side length right here by just figuring out what the missing part is. All right, how do I do that? Again, we're going to go back to a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared, I don't know what a is. B squared, square root of 61 squared, equals my hypotenuse, opposite of the right angle, 8 squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared, set up with the information that I have. And let's start working it out. Square rooting and throwing an exponent of 2, those would cancel each other, leaving you at just 61. So I have a squared plus 61 equals 8 squared, which comes out to 64. Two-step equation, we're almost there. Minus 61 cancels minus 61. A squared equals 64 minus 61, which comes out to 3. Square root it to cancel. Square root it on the other side. A, or in this case, x, remember A was matched up with x. A is the square root of 3. It didn't look like it was going to be all that much work, but it turned out being a doozy. You got to know the Pythagorean theorem. You got to know that square roots are opposites of exponents of 2. You got to know how to inverse operate to move things from one side of an equal sign to another. There's a lot of knowledge you need to have to work this problem out. So it's not as simplistic as do this, do this, do this, you're done. You got to do some thinking, you got to do some problem solving. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.